Let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're plunging headfirst into the profoundly, emotionally raw, and frankly, cosmically scaled poetry of Hosea. We're going to look really closely at Chapter 2, exploring how a tragically broken human marriage actually mirrors a devastating divine betrayal. It's hands down the most direct, captivating way to wrap our heads around this violent collision between divine love and human rebellion.
So we kick things off with a terrifying ontological shock. When God gives Hosea instructions for his third child, he throws in a formal declaration of divorce. In the original Hebrew, it literally reads, "I am not a Yahweh to you." This is a massive deal. It's a direct, devastating reversal of God's great I am name from Exodus 3:14. By essentially unnaming himself, God is legally dissolving the Sinai covenant. He is completely dismantling that foundational promise of, "I will be your God and you will be my people."
Here is our roadmap for unpacking all of this. First, embodied prophecies and divorce. Second, the cosmic covenant lawsuit. Third, a linguistic exorcism from Baali to Ishi. Fourth, the humiliating purchase price. And finally, restoration and cosmic remarriage.
Number 1. Embodied prophecies and divorce. Let's start by looking at how Hosea's own family became a living, breathing prophetic sign act. Hosea's marriage to Gomer wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a performed oracle dramatizing Israel's spiritual prostitution. Look at the names of their children: Jezreel, Lo Ruhama, and Lo Ami. These kids are essentially walking prophecies. They represent a tragically broken father and child pattern, initially bearing terrifying death sentences. No pity marks the revocation of God's maternal compassion, and not my people is that formal declaration of divorce we just talked about. But as you'll see, God is going to miraculously reverse these names. The damage Israel does to the covenant will be unilaterally healed by Yahweh.
This entire cycle of descent and resurrection maps out the overarching architecture of the entire book of Hosea. You have sin and spiritual adultery, resulting in a covenant lawsuit and divorce, which then transitions into this sacred disruption and wooing out in the wilderness, ultimately setting the stage for restoration and a cosmic remarriage.
Section 2. The Cosmic Covenant Lawsuit. Moving verse by verse, we see Israel desperately chasing after foreign alliances and pagan gods, like Baal, for economic security.
In response, Yahweh basically enters the ancient courtroom to prosecute his unfaithful bride. You see, God is not just flying off the handle angry here. He is formally and legally addressing Israel's spiritual adultery through a devastating ancient trial format known as a rib, or riv. This is totally based on ancient Near Eastern suzerainty treaty patterns. God is acting as the prosecutor because Israel committed the ultimate sin of ingratitude, taking his covenant gifts and treating them like a prostitute's wages paid by false gods.
And the verdict of this lawsuit? It's terrifying. Because Israel credited their blessings to Baal, it triggers what we can call an anthropogenic decreation. Basically, human covenant breaking literally unravels the creation order, sending everything spiraling back to pre-Eden chaos. The earth itself is systematically stripped bare, the joyful festivals cease, fruitful vineyards turn into wild thickets, and the land itself mourns right alongside the beasts, birds, and fish.
Section 3. Linguistic exorcism, Baali to Ishi. Yet, right in the thick of this devastating judgment, God initiates a subversive orthodoxy.
He doesn't just want behavior modification, he wants to entirely redefine the relationship. God declares that moving forward, Israel will call him Ishi, my loving husband, and never again Baali, my master. God absolutely refuses to be treated like some transactional fertility master or a cosmic vending machine for blessings. He's shifting the covenant from a harsh, coercive obligation into a mystical union of true affection and mutual belonging.
It's what's been called a linguistic exorcism. Because the word Baal literally meant Lord or Master in everyday language, Israel had grown way too comfortable calling Yahweh their Baali. By stripping away this tainted language, God purifies Israel's religious imagination. He's completely erasing the memory of Baal idolatry from their lips, restoring their relational identity through purified speech.
Number 4. The humiliating purchase price. To vividly demonstrate exactly what it takes to reclaim this broken relationship, God issues arguably the most scandalous command in the entire text. He tells Hosea to go and love his adulterous wife again. Hosea literally has to buy his wife back from the slave market. He empties out his savings, paying 15 shekels of silver and a ration of barley. Now, if you do the math,
This equals roughly 30 shekels total. What's staggering about that number is that 30 shekels is the degrading legal value of a gored or dead slave back in the book of Exodus. And paying half of that price in barley, that is incredibly significant. Barley was the poor man's grain. It was considered animal fodder. Plus, in the law, it's directly linked to the grain offering for a test of adultery. This isn't just cheap sentimentality. Hosea is buying back someone who has degraded herself to the absolute bottom of the market. It represents divine kenosis, a costly, self-emptying action by God to buy back a thoroughly enslaved and worthless people.
But after paying this huge price, Hosea doesn't just go back to business as usual. He imposes a strict period of abstinence and isolation, many days, to strip away all those false supports before any marital intimacy can resume. This period of liminality directly symbolizes Israel's coming exile. That's a desperately needed season of detoxification to prepare the bride for a genuine relationship but removing all her idols.
Which brings us to number 5, restoration and cosmic remarriage. Finally, that desolate wilderness of punishment is shockingly transfigured into the wilderness of an everlasting remarriage.
The God who justly stripped his bride naked now steps right back in to woo her. And the foundation of this remarriage? It's Hesed. This is a massive concept in Hosea. It means unswerving, loyal, covenant love and faithfulness. It's a divine commitment that overrides judgment to unilaterally restore a shattered relationship. God allures his people back, promising to betroth them forever, not based on their terrible track record, but entirely upon his own unshakable character and steadfast love. And out of that Hesed flows Yada, or Da'at Elohim, the true relational knowledge of God. God doesn't want empty religious mechanics or robotic sacrifices. He wants your heart. This is about deep experiential marital intimacy. To truly know God here means being brought into a profound mystical union, which completely supersedes just having intellectual facts about him.
When this intimate covenant is finally renewed, the entire created order is pulled back into perfect harmony. It totally reverses that decreation we talked about earlier. God establishes a new covenant of peace with the wild beasts. He completely abolishes the warrior's bow and sword. A responsive chain of life flows all the way from the heavens down to the grain. And the valley of Achor, literally the valley of trouble, is miraculously transformed into a door of hope. It turns a tragedy of decreation into a breathtaking cosmic liturgy. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to consider your own spiritual posture. The story of Hosea is the story of a God whose love stubbornly pursues us right into our darkest wilderness. So ask yourself, are you settling for a Baali, a transactional master, treating God like a vending machine for blessings? Or are you seeking a covenant of knowing intimacy, pursuing the radical, self-emptying love he offers as a husband? Who is wise, let them understand these things.